Today we're going to look at something called stoichiometry. It's a bad word in a lot of chemistry students' memories, but once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. Like so many words in chemistry, this word stoichiometry is based on two Greek words, element and measure. Meaning, we're using this technique to measure elements, and in particular, we're using it to calculate how much of an element or compound we need or how much gets produced. Let's take a balanced equation. So, this equation's already balanced, and what we want to remember is that this equation tells us the ratio of moles of every compound or element that gets used in a reaction. In other words, this reaction says that 1 mole of methane reacts with 4 moles of chlorine gas to produce 1 mole of carbon tetrachloride and 4 moles of hydrogen chloride, otherwise known as hydrochloric acid. Here's a question you could expect me to ask. How many moles of HCl would be produced from 4 moles of CH4? Here's how we're going to do this. We're going to start this off like we've always done by asking how many moles of what we want, in this case HCl, would be produced by 4 moles of CH4. So what we're going to use is a conversion. Obviously, we want to go from moles of CH4 to moles of HCl. We know from the equation that the ratio of CH4 to HCl is 1 to 4 or 4 to 1, depending on which way you're going. So in our conversion, we're simply going to put the ratios from the equation in the conversion factor, because we know that for every 1 mole of CH4 that gets reacted, 4 moles of HCl get produced. And just like we did way back in chapter 3, we're going to multiply across the top and divide by the bottom. You probably don't even need a calculator for this one, but we're going to multiply 4 moles of CH4 by 4 moles of HCl, and we should get 1 mole, divided by 1 mole of CH4, and we should get 16 moles of HCl. And that's all you do. It gets a lot more complicated than this. And be careful, because you could expect me to ask a question like this. How many molecules of HCl could be produced from 4 moles of CH4? And in this case, we would simply add one more conversion. How many molecules HCl are the equivalent of 4 moles of CH4? This time, the conversion is going to look like this. The first thing we need to do is get out of moles of CH4 and get into moles of HCl. And of course, we know from the balanced equation that the ratio of HCl to CH4 is 4 to 1. So that hasn't changed. When we are going from moles to molecules, however, we want to remember, just like way back in chapter 3, that there are 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules in 1 mole of anything. So let's bust out our fancy calculator. This is my fancy online calculator. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, we're going to multiply 4 times 4. We're dividing, of course, but of course by 1, so that's not necessary. And since we know we're going to get 16 moles of HCl, how many molecules is this? We'll multiply by 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. And we get 9.63 times 10 to the 24th molecules of HCl. And for now, that's all you do. So, take that for a spin, please.